Boom, comes, boom, comes.
Kuno fam, what's good? We're back with a match day review. I got Nqobile here. It's been a while, so yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Might as well just kick it off. Nqobile, man, welcome back. Thanks for coming on. It's been a while. Yeah, how's things been? How are you feeling after what is it, Sunday? No, yeah, Saturday's game.
Saturday, yeah, we're not used to playing on Saturdays. I've enjoyed this festive,
Yeah,
this January period. No, we're
we had
not
early
playing.
game
We're not playing
Saturday.
these these Sunday night 10 o'clock games. Right?
Yo,
Those are killing me. Um, yeah, man, I'm feeling good. Things are looking slightly up for us at the moment. When we've hit a good runner, we've had a good run. We've hit a bit of form. It's just now it's just the worry around the hectic schedules and the injuries that a lot of these players are picking up. And it's not just us, it's across the whole league. I think the schedule is proving to be quite burdensome on a lot of the players and the squads. And yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of during this period, a lot of teams struggling with injuries. And now it's just about managing the team. Arteta managing the squad, maybe making a few sacrifices here and there. But yeah, so it's going to be a really, really challenging period for all managers, and especially for Arteta, because obviously he's probably the least experienced manager in the whole league, right? So for him, it's going to be a steep learning curve.
definitely.
But yeah, look, he's got a bigger squad. Look, I think he even wants to trim it down quite a lot. So I think for him, the key is to not probably trim it down too much, because I still think we are likely to see a few players breaking down with injuries, and some of these guys that are touted for loans might come in handy. So it's a catch-22, because you want to send them out for them to get guaranteed game time, but the risk is that we might have players breaking down here at Arsenal, and then we might be a bit short, and then having
Yeah.
to rely on some of the academy kids, the kids that are playing for the Premier League 2 side or under 21s. So yeah, so it's one of those where you just kind of just have to hope for the best.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I think we're getting like proper into the red zone. I never thought I'd see it so early into, well, only halfway into the season, but the amount of football that's been played over the last year is quite insane. And as you said, the schedules. But I think the last time we spoke, you said that Jan was gonna be a big month for us. And it's the end
Yeah.
of Jan. I think came off the Chelsea win. So what did you make up of our performance during Jan? Were you surprised, like, not to lose, not to actually lose three
Yeah,
points, and build up to United, which was the big one at the end of the month?
yeah. Look, I think in all, I think since December, or since the Chelsea result, the only real disappointment was the Southampton FA Cup game. But
Mm,
that was kind of a catch-22 for the coach, because he needed to, and you can see now why he needed to rotate. A lot of those, and actually looking back now, he didn't really rotate. He was forced into a lot of the changes
yeah,
that he made for that match. A lot of the players actually were injured and unavailable for that game, the ones that he had left out. But for me, obviously, that was just a disappointment, because I was hoping, at the time, I was hoping to see a strong Arsenal squad for that particular match. And then obviously we went in the squad that we went in with, and we lost the match. And I was thinking that, because obviously Arteta had been talking about playing a stronger side for the FA Cup, because we were defending champions, I was a bit disappointed to see the squad that we
mm,
went that game with. But then in hindsight, then post after seeing all a couple of days later, after seeing all the injuries and injury reports that we had, I kind of then understood, okay, what, we had to rest we had to leave out a lot of the players that we did leave out, purely because they were injured or having family problems or whatever it was. But yeah, all in all, I think leading up to the Man U game, I think it was only really the Crystal Palace game where we drew a blank. But I think we've been quite good of late. Defense has been solidish. I mean, look, we're not I know a lot of people have been saying I don't think we've been amazing. I think we've been competent. Up front is where we've improved significantly. A lot of our players have started to find form, started to find confidence. And that, because for me, that was always the area where we were struggling, was the creativity element of our game. And now it seems as if we've sort of solved for that. But also, I think with that being said, we are reliant on our current 11 that we had been going in with, staying fit for us to carry on that trajectory. And that is the worry, that we are just like an injury away, a couple of injuries away from having the likes of El Neni and Willian back in the starting 11. That is, and there is a significant drop off in quality once the likes of these squad players come in. I think we've got a very solid first 11 at the moment, but then after that, when you look at our bench, there's really nothing that you can point to and say, yeah, there's quality coming on here. This is the definite game-changing sub. I mean, if you look at our bench with a full strength squad, you can only maybe look at Pep and say he might provide a bit of spark. But besides that, if you look at the rest of our bench contingent, you've got your El Nenis there, you've got your Willocks there. They're not really going to unlock any. Eddie Nketiah is not really going to unlock any side. You got Willian, who's been very cold since the Fulham game. So that is the worry. But yeah, overall, I've been quite more satisfied with the performance. Now it's just the nervousness around whether we're going to be able to sustain that, or we're not going to, or are we going to pick up injuries and drop off again, given the hectic schedule that we had, which starts. Sorry, but not hectic schedule per se, but the level of opposition we're going to be playing against over the next month and a half.
Yeah.
Which started off with United on the weekend. That we've got a tough run of fixtures against teams we've struggled against this season, and we have lost. I think most of the teams sparring United would actually come out with unfavorable result against recently. So it's a tough one. But look, I'm cautiously optimistic that hopefully we can come out the other side with not too much damage being done, and us still being in that Europa League hunt. Maybe still, if we can come out of this period still in around 7th or 8th, I think we would have done quite well, because I think our fixtures do tend to ease off post the Man City match later on in the month.
No, that is true. I think our next 10 games are very tough. Like it's going to be a hectic run for us. And just on a few points there, I just want to go back to the injuries and stuff like that, and maybe break down the United game a bit. And I think that goes hand in hand, because in the game we didn't have Saka, no Tierney, no Aubameyang, no Ceballos in terms of on the bench or even playing. So quite a few pivotal injuries, that you could before the game be like, this is United's game, because Saka being inspirational. Aubameyang, people were like, he hasn't been informed, but it's still Aubameyang, at the end of the day, he might just turn up. And I think Tierney...
And he's got a good record against Man United as well. So.
Of course. And then Tierney being Tierney, that's all you can really say. It's Tierney. And then you get, look, people had to slot in. Cedric had to play the role, Emil Smith-Rowe, Pepe, and then Martinelli was on there. So, what did you make of, obviously, the injuries, which were unfortunate, and then how we actually managed the game? And then I think a big changing point could have been the Willian substitution for Martinelli. So what did you make of that as well?
Yeah, so I think looking at the first 11s of both sides, I wasn't expecting to see Saka not in the match day squad. So once I saw the starting 11, I was actually fearing the worst. I was like, because I was confident going into the game that, look, we got a good chance. And when I saw the first 11, I was like, I think we might get done here, and probably walking into the match, I would have taken a draw. But yeah, look, I think overall, we played quite well. I mean, the game did lack a bit of quality in terms of there was a lot of turnovers, a lot of misplaced passes from both sides. But I like the intensity. The game was a bit backwards and forwards, so that was good to see. So it was an entertaining game, even though for me the quality wasn't the greatest, but it was on edge. It seemed like either club could do something at any point from an attacking point of view. So it was for me. I found the game quite tense and obviously entertaining at the same time. And then we seem to cope okay-ish with our injuries. Obviously, we were limited in terms of our attacking ability because we do use Tierney quite a lot on the left, and we rely on him on overlapping and getting those crosses in. But purely because obviously Cedric is right-footed, he favors cutting in onto his right. We weren't able to get those overlapping and get that creativity going on that end. And also because obviously Martinelli is also right-footed, both of them tuck in, so we don't really have that natural width when we play those two out wide, which does limit our attacking opportunity or our attacking options. But yeah, look, I think obviously most of the guys I think played okay-ish. The one guy I was disappointed with was Thomas Partey, but I think that was just purely because he just gave the ball away quite a lot, and you could kind of forgive him because this was his first full 90 minutes. He has been battling with injuries. He's been immense in the previous games that he's played. So I did give him a free pass in that element in terms of that was one element of his game which has been spot on since he's come back. But on Saturday he gave the ball away uncharacteristically for him, and I think if his passing had been a bit better, he might have been able to unlock the Man United defense a bit more frequently. But yeah, look, I think Xhaka played well in my like even though he still does his backwards passes here and there, but I think defensively he was solid. He tracked his man. His positioning was good. But yeah, he's just obviously, and he did. I mean, play the ball forward. I just like the urgency of the Arsenal side. We seemed we wanted to get things on quickly. Whenever foul was conceded, we'd look to play the ball quickly, catch them unawares. Whenever we conceded a foul, we'd look to slow them down, get men on the ball, hold up the ball, frustrate them a bit. So I like that level of professionalism and also the intensity of the side. But at the end of the day, I think we lacked the quality to ultimately break them down. And I think the same can be said for United. So, and for them, they had a full strength side. So if I was a United fan, I'd probably be a lot more disappointed than an Arsenal fan, just purely given the two squads that were put out on the day. And then moving on to Martinelli, look, I don't think he played. I think defensively he did a lot of great work, which might have inhibited his ability to attack. And going forward, I don't really think he did as badly. It didn't warrant him coming off at halftime, unless there was really. So I thought that it was like maybe he was carrying a bit of a niggle, and Arteta didn't want to risk him. But it seems that wasn't the case. It was a more, it was a tactical decision, as Arteta phrased it. And then when Willian came on, I thought he was bright for the first 10, 15 minutes. And I think after he missed, so obviously you started off brightly, but he missed that big chance.
Yeah.
And then after that, it seemed to, and he also laid off a ball for Pep, which was blocked by,
that run. I remember that run.
Yeah. But besides that, I think he faded as the game went on, and reverted back to type almost. But it wasn't as bad as he's usually been. Just really, he had that initial burst of energy, and then he seemed to fade. But then, I think a lot of the guys, if you look at Emil Smith-Rowe, it was a decent showing. Not spectacular, but still, is able to find those pockets, able to move around, able to link up all with Lacazette. Not maybe linking up as well with Pepe as he does with Saka, but there was a few moves they did try put through together. So Yeah, and like I said, also I think did a lot of hard work, did a lot of the link-up play, closed them down when needed to. So yeah, and got up and down the pitch as well. So yeah, I think he also had a decentish game. So yeah, I think all in all, for me, a draw was a fair result. And yeah, look, most players in both squads were solid, if not yeah, but weren't really that spectacular.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I get you. It wasn't. It was a exciting goalless draw, you could say, for a
Yeah.
goalless draw. You know, at least there was some. But yeah, it was. I suppose we held our own having those guys out, you know, and ended off a good Jan. At least we didn't lose. But with Jan ending comes with the transfers, man, and you know we've had quite a. I don't know what you can say, entertaining or more for clearing out the wood,
We,
you know, the dead wood.
we took out a bank loan to pay people off so they could leave the club.
Yeah, it looks like it. It definitely looks like it. So, man, like going into the transfers, well, we'll go on people that left. So, Kola, Socrates, you know, Saliba out on loan, and then the big one being Uzil. So maybe you can comment on those. And then obviously the ins. I think it was for now. I think it's just that keeper. I forget his name. Matt Ryan. Is it Matt Ryan?
Yeah, it's Matt Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Ryan and Odegaard, Martin Odegaard. So yeah, maybe just comment on those ins and outs and what you made of the transfer window. I think today is the last day.
Yeah. So it's the deadline now. I was actually watching Sky News right now to see what's going on. They were actually reporting that Ainsley is heading to West Brom on loan.
Really, wow.
Um, yeah, so they were saying it's confirmed, but obviously I don't think it's been announced yet. But that's what they're saying, that he's going to do a medical, and then he'll sign the papers and he'll probably be off to the West Midlands. Um, but yeah, I think it's been a good window. We didn't really expect to see much happening. So I know you've seen there hasn't been a lot in terms of transfers. It's basically been loan moves and terminations by mutual consent of contracts. Um, and I think if anything, Arteta got those players that he didn't want in his squad out. And by that I mean he got rid of Özil, which I think was probably his number one prerogative for this window, and kept the noise out of the club uh, with him. You know, so because I mean it's a bit tiring every press conference having to talk about the Özil situation. So I think with this, it gives him some peace of mind, and he can now focus on the squad, and also the journalists can focus on asking relevant questions. You know, obviously, I was sad to kind of see him go and for it to end this way. But at the end of the day, I was a bit relieved as well that at least now we can move on and move on to the next chapter. Look, I appreciate what the guy did. We hadn't won a trophy in 9 years before he came along, and I think he was an integral part to our success. Obviously, yes, the past 2 to 3 seasons he's been below par, and he hasn't really been at that. Well, I'll not say below par, but he wasn't at that elite level, you know. But he still wasn't as so bad that he didn't deserve his place in the squad. You know what I'm saying? So at least now it was a good move for both parties. He gets to go to Fenerbahce, gets to playing for his boyhood club in a country that's mad about him. So that's great for him, and for us, we also get to the coach now can focus on the squad. And focus on working with a smaller group of players and focus on getting the noise around the club out the door. And then the other one obviously was Papa. So I think Papa, obviously with him, he was a great professional. I was surprised actually that he got left out. It was a bit unfair because he didn't really worry. He was just a victim of circumstance. I think he was really fell victim to the Martinez deal, really, where when we lost Martinez, because he was basically a homegrown player and considered English for all intents and purposes. When we lost him and had to bring in a keeper, that meant that really Papa lost his spot then in the squad. So look, it was for me. I think at the end, it was one of those where you didn't like to see what happened to him happening to him, because he wasn't one of those guys that was a troublemaker with a lot of noise behind the scenes, etc. He was a consummate, he was a good professional. But at the end of the day, it didn't work out, and we had to cut our ties with him. If he knew, if he thought that he was going to stay, he wasn't going to be in the squad. He also probably would have then asked to be released in the summer versus having to wait 6 months. Look, I know obviously it was tough for him because he had a child during the break. So obviously, I think that was also came into play why he didn't really want to move during the summer. He was like, "Look, I'll try to stick it out." But then obviously, when he didn't get included in the squad, then it made it quite. The situation became unattainable for him. So now he's gotten the dream move back home as well. So I'm happy to also see him leave. Not happy and say I'm not saying good riddance, but I'd say that he was a good professional, served us well for the couple of seasons he was here. And yeah, farewell to him, and just wishing him also all the best. So yeah, I think that was to get those players that were unregistered out the club was I think for me first prize, which we've done for both. And yeah, I'm happy to see that business being done. The Kolasinac deal for me, at the time I was quite happy with it, but now looking back, I'm kind of, I think that out of all, because he's the one that was done first, right?
Yeah.
And in my mind, actually, now looking back, I think that, he's one of those maybe we might have. Look, I don't think he's a great player. I think he's a rubbish player, but I think we might have pulled the trigger a bit too early on him. In terms of now, with letting him go, we've lost that balance on the left-hand side. We don't have a natural left-footed left back anymore. Look, I don't want to see Bukayo Saka filling in at left back.
Yeah.
But it looks like at the moment he probably will be asked to do that job now and then, knowing Tenny and his checkered injury record. So for me, I think maybe that one we could have maybe tried to hold on to him a bit and see. But then if we hold on to him, then it makes it quite difficult for us to do the Odegaard deal. So he was almost like one of those where we had to sacrifice him to make a signing in the number 10 position that we wanted and be able to register that number 10. And then I think with the thinking that being then that look, we'll then try and fill in and get either Ainsley, or that was before obviously Ainsley moved on, but either Ainsley or Cedric maybe having to fill in now and then, or Bukayo Saka filling in now and then in that position. But now with Ainsley leaving, I'm just a bit worried about that balance, because now also if we have to get a replacement, we kind of have to get an English replacement or someone with someone who's classified a homegrown player, because I think we've kind of pulled, and you could kind of hear it in Arteta's. Yeah, so obviously now with us probably looking like we're getting rid of Ainsley, for me, I think we need to then try and get, which I don't think we will. We need to try and get cover at that left back position, which we don't really have. And I don't think we've got any academy players either that can do a good job at left back. So we can't even rely on any of these youngsters that are coming up. So that might leave us a bit short, and it's a bit of a risk. And I think he's kind of forced that move purely because I think he's trying to get into the not Europa, but the Euro squad for England. He's had that taste of playing for England later on last year, and I think that's his motivation to try to get in. And he's not really going to get many minutes I think he reckons he's not going to get many minutes currently at Arsenal, so he's moved on. But yeah, I think at the last the last transfer out, the last transfer in, actually two transfers in. The one obviously of Matthew Ryan, which I think was needed. I think we kind of saw Runarsson have that one nightmare match against Man City, and everyone's mind was made up. Because I think prior to that, he wasn't that bad.
But even some goals in Europa, he let go that were, because we were winning like 4-3, it was fine.
You kind of brushed over it.
Yeah, but like when you
and then after the Man City one, called it quits. So I think I'm happy. I was happy with the Matt Ryan signing. It's just a pity that he's Australian, so he kind of takes up one of those homegrown. Well, he takes up one of those foreign positions. So now it's going to be quite interesting to see what Mikel Arteta does. Does he leave out Runarsson going forward in the squad, and maybe put in Okongo in there as a third choice keeper, because obviously he needs to make space, unless he gets rid of Squadra and Mustafi. So a lot hinges on whether Squadra and Mustafi can leave now or not. It looks like obviously they've got the deal that they're working for him at Schalke, but we'll see whether that gets done in time. It's actually probably because the window closes now actually in Germany, so we'll see whether they've done it yet or not yet. It closed at 7. Yeah. So back to Matt Ryan. Yeah. So I was quite chuffed with that move. I didn't see it coming, and I think he's a very solid backup keeper. He was the first choice at Brighton until he had the fallout with Graham Potter. And now I think they've got that. I think his name is Sanchez, the keeper they've got, who looked quite good yesterday. Well, he's looked impressive when I've seen him. He's obviously made a few errors here and there. But yeah, look, Matt Ryan, I think is a solid number 2, and I think he picked up an injury, funnily enough, and that's why he wasn't on the bench against Man United. Those are the rumors I heard. I don't know how true it is or whether it's a registration thing, maybe with him in terms of the EPL registration, but I don't know. But yeah, the rumors were that he picked up a bit of a knock, and that's why he wasn't in the squad. But yeah, hopefully then now at least we know that if Leonard does pick up an injury, I think we've got decent cover for him. A solid EPL experienced goalkeeper, who was one of the best shot stoppers I consider him a decent shot stopper in the EPL, and you have to be, playing for a team like Brighton that usually gives away a lot of chances to the opposition. But yeah, and then obviously the last signing was Martin Odegaard. That one I actually was quite surprised that it happened, and how quickly it happened. And yeah, look, my only worry with him is that maybe the adaptation period, because of such a short loan, he's literally only really got 4 months, right?
Yeah.
And you'd say maybe it would take him a month to settle in. So you really only see him for 2.5 to 3 months. So I'm worried that he might not have the impact. By the time he starts having the impact that we'd like to see from him, the season will be done and dusted. But we really did need him, just purely because Willian wasn't playing that well in that number 10 position. And we know Emil Smith-Rowe also doesn't have a good injury record. He's quite injury prone, and you can already see him starting to break down in some of these matches, picking up little knocks here and there and having to be rotated. So it's an interesting one. It's a player that's got a lot to prove, I think. And he's a hungry player, a player who has been linked with us in the past. I think Wenger took him on a tour around our training facilities and stadium, but he opted to obviously go to Real Madrid at the time. So yeah, it's a player I'm really looking forward to see how he's able to adapt to the Premier League, and hopefully he can hit the ground running. But I'm just obviously a bit skeptical with that, and I think we just maybe need to give him a bit more time. And the fixtures we've got coming up are quite difficult, so it's not one where you can experiment. Yeah, these are very, very tough fixtures coming up. It's not like we've got like a West Brom at home or whatever it is. It's all really, really tough games against good opposition coming up. So I think it's going to be quite difficult for us. We're not really going to see much of him, I reckon, in the next month. But that's also on the flip side that's quite dependent on how Emil Smith-Rowe, how he gets along and if he's able to survive this period. Because if he picks up any niggle when he goes out for a prolonged period of time, then Arteta's hand might be forced and he might have to throw him in sooner than probably what he would have liked to. So yeah, I think all in all, good business done Bayedu, they were quite ruthless, cut ties with a lot of the players. Probably had to pay, obviously, but they haven't really disclosed yet, but I'm sure there were some severance packages and fees that were paid out for some of these guys. Not all of them, but I'm sure there were some that were paid out.
Yeah.
And and they did say the focus was getting those players that were lag on the squad out the door. And he's been able to successfully do that. And I think in terms of incomings, they've done quite well. They've strengthened in the areas they wanted to, barring maybe left back. Is probably the only area of concern I have at the moment. But besides that, I think they've done really, really well. I'll probably give them like an, in the circumstances, probably a 7.5 out of 10. And yeah, if they can maybe get Mustafi out the door, maybe I'd bump it up to an 8. And that's just purely out of the circumstances. Not because obviously this winter window is not one where we were going to get any blockbuster 50 million pound, 60 million pound deals, given the current economic climates around football. So I think given the circumstances, I think we've had a really, really solid window. Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy.
We did some good business through the season, you could say. Got rid of some guys, got some good guys in. So yeah, let's hopefully it spurs us on for the next 10 games. And next game being tomorrow, man. Wolves, which aren't in the best form, but still, it's still Wolves, And they've actually,
Wolves.
I think they bought a new striker, stuff like that. So yeah, what do you make of that matchup, and what are you expecting from the team?
It's gonna be a tough side. Look, I mean, obviously they are a bit of the form has dipped a lot since they beat us at home. I think they've only won one other match in the previous 9 they've played post playing us. So but obviously with that we have to go in being a bit wary. Wolves always gives us a tough time at Molineux. And it's one of those where you kind of maybe a bit happy that you're playing them behind closed doors at the moment. There's no home fans to spur them on and to onto a good result against us, which they've been able to do over the past few seasons. So it's going to be a tough one. My worry is obviously if it was our full strength side going against their full strength side, I'd fancy us to beat them quite comfortably. But given the state of play, and with some of the players might not be available some key players not being available for that fixture, and the players that are coming in to replace them not really performing well of late. If I look at, let's say, your Williams, haven't really set the world alight. Pepe has been hot and cold, So I'm just worried that cohesion that our starting front four usually have the guys that are replacing them won't be able to replicate them. Also, with Laka, we don't really know. Atete had said that he expects him to be back fine. I don't know if he's trained today, but I think he expected him to be back training. But there are concerns around they might pull him out of the limelight for this one and keep him in reserve for the Aston Villa game in the weekend. So if I look at all those changes, that might disrupt our flow and might lead to the game being a bit stop-start and not being as fluid as what we've used to seeing of Arsenal of late. And then that might obviously lead to an unfavorable result. So yeah, it's gonna be a really, really tough game. And I think a lot will depend on the lineups that both sides field, because they've got some tricky players as well on their end. They've got Neto, who's a very good player, I rate him. Adama always seems to give us troubles.
Gordon.
And yeah. So Podence, I haven't seen much of him though of late. But you've got like your Neves, Jean Moutinho, Dendonka, who seems to be able to get into the box, make those late runs.
Even the new wing back, what's his name? Forget his name. The wing back that they put. Yeah, Semedo. Oh yeah, Semedo. Yeah.
So Nelson Semedo, yeah. So so I mean, they've got some very, very decent players, and on their day, even though obviously in the recent past they haven't been able to turn it on their day, they can beat anyone. But obviously they've been struggling with that Raul Jimenez. Since that Raul Jimenez injury, I think they've really struggled
Yeah.
uh, in front of goal. So yeah, I just hope that that continues against us. But yeah, they've got some really tricky players, and I'm expecting a tough test. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
but hopefully our boys will be able to get through.
I think, like, in a nutshell, well, hopefully whatever team he feels will be strong enough. But whoever's coming in now, it's you have to step up. I feel to
Yeah,
you're not gonna get the chance. Like again, you might not get the chance, or if you do, like that's why I'm hoping maybe this is the turnaround for Willian. This maybe these type of games because we're so short with players. We don't know when Aubameyang will be back. Don't know how bad the Saka injury is. Because to miss Man United, it must have been worrying. For them not to
yeah,
to risk him. So it's stuff like that. But yeah, as you said, Wolves is not an easy opponent, man. And yeah, so we have Wolves and then also going into Villa, man. So it's a very crazy few matches. So we United, Wolves, Villa, damn. So I thought the hard month just ended when we got out of this hectic run. Now it just it just starts again. So well, we did mention there's gonna be. I think it started off with United, and I think it ends off with City. And in the mix, we got like 9 games that are quite difficult, being Villa, Wolves. I think we have Tottenham in the
we
mix
got
there,
Leeds.
Leeds.
Yeah,
So what do you think
got
is
Leicester as well. Yeah.
yeah, what do you think is needed? Sorry, last before we cut off, man. What do you think is needed to just keep us going and try get the results? Because we need to keep this momentum coming out of Jan. I think we've recovered
Yeah,
quite decently, you know?
it's difficult. We're gonna really need the squad players to step up because it's gonna be unsustainable to expect Emil Smith Rowe to play every single game,
Mm,
playing 2 games a week for the next what 5 weeks. Call it, that's unsustainable. So we're gonna have to rely on the squad. The squad players are gonna have to step up, and unfortunately, yes, we're gonna have to rotate. Um, and it's just gonna be now the balancing act. Arteta just needs to get his balancing act that he doesn't over rotate and kill the flow of the team. But also he must try to make sure he rotates enough to not burn out some of the key players. So I think that's going to be quite critical to how we perform right now. And the only good thing is that all the rest of the other sides, the rest of the teams, the other 8 or so teams that we're going to be playing during this period are going to be going through the same thing, right? So they're also going to have to be doing a bit of a balancing act, sacrificing certain matches for others. So you would hope that in some of the games they play us, they're going to be sacrificing some of those games and play a
yeah,
second fiddle side, and then maybe we can capitalize on those. So it's going to come down to those players stepping up, the bench players stepping up, and also a bit of luck, as I've said, with regards to the squads that your opposition puts out on the day, on the day. So yeah, it's going to be very, very important that we get everyone firing during this period and make sure we keep the key players fit. And it's going to be a really, really intriguing and interesting time. And we've already seen that there's certain players that are not replaceable in these squads, and an injury to them, your team started all of a sudden looks completely different. We've seen Spurs, the loss of Harry Kane, and they look completely different now. They look devoid of ideas. And I think we also one of those where if we lose a Lacazette right now, we lose an Emil Smith Rowe, we're gonna struggle a bit creative in terms of creativity. We lose Tierney for a prolonged period, we're gonna struggle in terms of creating chances. So it's about keeping some of those key players fit during this period. Yeah. So the physios have got their work cut out on that
yeah.
end.
Also gonna have hot and cold baths every day in the ice, and
Yeah.
then But I think yeah, this is gonna be as much as you want the most out of your team, it's gonna be trying to get the most with using the least, I feel, you know, because to manage them throughout. So we are really in a red zone, and you could see it with a few players for the Man United game, as you said, Emil Smith, bro, and even other games when I watch in the Premier League. Guys are just not on par, especially if they played in the weekend. So yeah, it's been a few months for us, and yeah, and for the league itself, I think it's going to be quite hectic. I think once the international break comes around, there's going to be banking cards and stuff, you know, because they need a break.
Yeah.
You know, but Nqobile, thanks so much. Much appreciated for coming on and sharing, catching up. Yeah, it's been a while. So hopefully catch you on the next match day up against Wolves next. Unfortunately, we
Nice
didn't
early
score.
kickoff tomorrow.
Oh, is it? What time?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock game. So
Okay, thank God, man. Like these
yeah.
10 o'clocks were killing me. It was so bad. Like even do a show after is so hard. Like I'm like half asleep
Yeah.
because it's like 12, you know, and you're like, yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. Thanks so much. We got an early game. Nqobile said some good news, so it's gonna be an early start for us. And yeah, stay tuned for deadline day. And it's me, Kish. It's Nqobile. It's Gunacast SA. We are.
You know.